All right. Um, so been out of the game for a little bit. I've been under the weather, kind of sick. Maybe it's the COVID-19. Maybe not. You know. But tomorrow I go back Necrolord. Yes, it's been a long anticipated wait, but I learned my lesson. We actually had some good queues as Night Fae. I have clips of me making it to 2300 in the 2v2 bracket. If you look right now, I'm like maybe like the fifth highest demo in the US in 2v2 or something. I was the third, but then we lost 2 games in a row to fucking Wiz K. Uh, literally Wiz K while he was streaming. So yeah, that was really fun. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I ran some games. I had to play as consumption because I'm Night Fae, so I can't run Saxels with Decimate. But I was doing some games with the Grim Inquisitor's Legendary, the dog one, and it was actually a lot of fun. You know, I wanted to discuss the like the strengths with that Legendary, because it is apparent that that Legendary. I just like walked into the beam. It is apparent that Legendary has strengths that the other two don't. Oh fuck me. Yeah, just me letting this guy cap over here. But yeah, I like the fact that it that you build it up manually and it's not RNG based. The RNG lies in its bonus that you can get just with the dread procs, but you can rely on the damage coming through regardless of RNG, you know, which Horn Nightmare and Synergy aren't the same way. Their damage is reliant on like a proc, like an RNG proc, not as much as a charged up buff. And so the predictability factor for Arena is really important with that Legendary, and it is also some way or another beating out Forces of the Horn Nightmare in every sim that I run for DPS. So at least it's competitive. It's up there for either the best or the second best Legendary, and the choice is up to you, you know. That was kind of the part I forgot to mention in my video about Legendaries, is like, I think I mentioned it, but I was more so telling you guys the strengths and weaknesses so that you guys can make your own informed decision. Because ultimately, like, the way you want to play Demonology is going to come down to preference. There's no one way to do it. There's no whatever. I innovated this build for myself, and it's, you know, it's what works for me. It's what I have fun doing, and I have success with it. So, like, I'm not going to tell you guys how to play. I'm just going to tell you guys how I play so that maybe I can help you guys out. Gall, I'm not going to be able to kill this fucking shaman. Look at this. This is so fried. Hang on. Let me focus a sec. Ah, fucking wind sheared me. Damn it. Yeah, I'm really kind of... I'm going to get fucked up. All right, here we go. Do I kill? Oh my... You've got to be fucking kidding me, dude. Gall, that's so fried, man. This game is fried as fuck. I did twice his damage, by the way, guys. In case you're wondering. But, yeah. So, I recommend the Dog Legendary. I stamp my seal of approval on the Dog Legendary and Forces of the Horn Nightmare and Synergy if you're, like, not really wanting an interactive Legendary. But Synergy is not as good as the other two that I mentioned. The aforementioned two. As far as DPS, as far as over the fight, as far as whatever. You name it, any metric, it's not as good. But the other two require like a level of finesse to play with that Synergy doesn't require because it's just passive. So there's even a benefit there. So you got to make that decision for yourself. I may play more games with the Dog Legendary, but I personally am just a fan of the Forces of the Horn Nightmare. But yeah, so that's that. As far as like my updates and stuff, I'm definitely gonna go hard as hell. I have to find a comp to run with in threes to make it a gladiator. I don't know exactly what I want to run. Maybe like mage or something. But yeah, it's gonna be a big deal, man. It's gonna be really fun. So can't wait for that. Yeah, we'll do that. I've just been waiting on Necrolord, which that's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm gonna sort some shit out. And then, wow, am I about to get my ass kicked by a healer? He's just like standing. That rogue just like stood there. Okay. Oh, I just popped BM on accident. Whoops. Fuck. But yeah, and so that was one thing I wanted to mention. I also want to kind of mention for a sec stat priorities because somebody in my comments hit me up about it and wanted to know what stat priorities to go with that build that I talked about in the first video, the initial video. And so with this personal build of mine, not a lot of the damage is coming from demons themselves. It's mainly you. So that rules out mastery. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you run versatility on your PvP gear as main stat. So that rules out verse as well because you're getting verse anyways. So it basically, and he correctly pointed this out as well. It's like between crit and haste. So for me, I personally like to play with a lot of haste. I don't want to be below 20% haste. It just feels slow to me. It feels clunky. Like demo is everything is casted and ramped up. So the faster your haste is, the faster your imps are going to expire, the faster your cores like come to you that way. The quicker your cast times are for like Demonic Tyrant, the harder it is for you to get kicked. The shorter your global cooldown for when you use like all these instant cast demon bolts, which by the way is like your main source of damage as you're seeing right here. This is me with Force of the Horn Nightmare playing Saxels. And like, so yeah, so I personally play with haste. I would rather have 3% haste than 3% crit when playing this build any fucking day of the week. And the Sims, like when you run like a DPS like stat thing or whatever to like see about that or to double check, it's not going to reflect it because it's a PvP sim. But the value of haste is it's way good in PvP. It is so good in PvP, especially in this meta where things are dying, like games are ending in a minute. Like you just want to ramp. You don't want to be sitting there trying to shadow bolt to ramp up. You want to just be doing your thing, rolling, and get your damage out as quick as possible, get as much value out of your Tyrant as possible, and shoot as many fucking demon bolts that are amped by Saxels as possible. So that is why, and I run with the haste trinket to allow this to happen. So it's going to come down to personal preference. Get to about 18 to 19% haste at least, and then you can decide what you want to do with the rest. But playing any less than that is troll as fuck. And who knows, maybe playing as much as me, as much haste as me is fucking troll. Maybe it's bad. Who knows? But I've just found like it feels slow. Like it feels slow to me, and I'm like OCD. I want to play like I want to feel like I'm playing at a fast pace, and I'm not like lagging or like I don't have like the global, like my globals are slow or whatever. Like I just want to get it out and just fucking crush people, because if you're slow to the party, they'll just kill you before you can kill them. So I'm a caster and they're melee, so for me it's like haste means a lot more to a caster than it does a melee. Like you got to get your globals, you got to get your spells out, like you got to cast while they're hitting you. So yeah, I've just always gone with haste. Haste also scales your pets. I mean, it allows you to get, if you're playing Force of the Horn Nightmare, it allows you to get more imps up during your Tyrant phase. By the end of it, you'll be hitting fatter Saxels than you would, although, albeit with a lower crit chance, but crit is RNG. I'm not a big fan of the crit stat. It's not really like, it's just one of those factors where it's like, oh yeah, you could either have it or not, and it's like there's no control over it whatsoever. Haste, you have control. So that's kind of my outlook on that. So I'm at currently, with this particular legendary, because it's giving me more haste than I normally would have, I'm at 22.15%. and that is about as much as you're gonna want. Like much more. If I think I'm maxed out. I have all of my sockets, everything. But if you were to get more, man, like you'd be fried. Okay, you don't want more. You don't want any more. So, yeah. So after like 18 to 19%, that's where it starts to, like, haste for a lot of builds starts to lose some value in the eyes of at least the PvE simulation crafts or whatever they're called, like sim craft, like your stat weights. It does start to lose value, but haste is just really nice to have in PvP. And if you don't have it, it's just harder to get your damage out, which for me, it's like I would rather have the consistency than like some crit like thing, but get outplayed. You know, like I don't want to get outplayed. Which haste actually sometimes can like allow your haste levels being higher than somebody else can allow you to sometimes like outplay people. Like my fears land before other people's fears. It's like a slight thing, but it's very there. It's very much there. The quicker your spells land, the more finesse you have as a character. So haste is like the best stat in my opinion. Like I played mage, I stacked haste. Haste is just the best, literally. So I mean, obviously, like, besides verse, okay, but because verse is just the super stat now, but haste is the best. So I want as much of that as possible, but you can do whatever you want. Just make it to 18, 19%, and then feel it out and see how much you want to go for. But that's what I'm running. So that's to answer that guy's question.